Hello everyone, and welcome to HHS 415, Research Skills in Health and Human Services online. My name is Tim Lovell. I will be leading you through the course this semester. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely going to be a little bit new for me. I've never taught an online class before, but really looking forward to it. My apologies right off the bat. I was hoping to have a little bit of a webcam so you could actually see me and we could get a little bit better introduction, but the webcam on my laptop is currently not behaving, so hopefully I'll get that straightened out soon enough. But hopefully the screenshot will help you out. So I'll just kind of take you through an overview of the course. Obviously, this is the home page. You can see a lot of you have probably already seen it. If you go into modules, this will look a little different for you because obviously, as the instructor, I have access to everything that's not published. So for now, you can probably only see Module 1. But going into Module 1, this kind of just gives you an overview of Week 1, what the focus is going to be. Here's your first reading. So we're going to be using APA Style Central quite a bit. It's offered through Hatch Library. They have some really good tutorials. So this is the first one that you're expected to look through. It is a bit long and a little bit tedious, to be quite honest, but it gives a really good overview of the basics of APA style, which is what we're going to be focusing on throughout the semester. Down here is another reading, fairly quick read, a really good article through AJOT about the importance of evidence-based practice. And then if there's anything that you're unclear with, I put this in every module. Supplemental readings. So this is stuff that I don't necessarily want you to read, cover to cover these chapters, but it can be useful to help accentuate what you see in some of the other readings. So every module is going to look pretty much the same: an introduction section, readings and media, and then assignments. So for this week, right off the bat, don't worry too much about assignments. Really your thing to focus on for Week 1 is the discussion, which I saw several of you have already posted in, which is great. I was flipping through already, and already a lot of diversity, which I really like. And I'll probably be commenting within the discussion section. And the other thing, I mentioned APA Style Central already. So if you click on this link, it will take you to APA Style Central, which you can see here. And really all I want you to worry about for this week is to just create an account, which is free. So if you just go up here to welcome, log in, obviously I already have information, but you can create a new account. So go ahead and do that, and feel free to look around. This is going to be a great resource. There's a lot of tutorials that I'll be using on here, and then we'll also be using the research and the writing portion quite a bit later on. But don't worry about that just yet. So that is that for Module 1. So we'll jump into the syllabus. So pretty much your standard, this is my information. Quick background, I'm actually a graduate of BayPath. I graduated this past June. I did one of my level 2 field works at BayPath teaching, which is something that they've been doing for a few years now. And it was a lot of fun, and essentially I enjoyed it. My former professors, who are now colleagues, enjoyed having me around, and long story short, they haven't let me leave. It's been a lot of fun. This past semester, I actually taught sensory motor labs for the first year MOT students. So that was a blast. And then they asked me to continue on, and so here I am with this. And I'm also going to be helping out with one of the other courses on campus as well. So just a quick background for me. Phone number, that's my cell phone number. Email address, obviously. I like to think that I'm pretty accessible, so feel free, if something pops up, you need a question answered, feel free to email or text or call, depending on, what the circumstances are, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Everything else here is pretty standard. Department chair used to be Cheryl. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her. She's actually not the chair anymore. They're actually trying to hire a new chair. So currently, I would actually say that Beverly St. Pierre, who is the head of the OT program in general, would probably be filling in for Cheryl. But if you need her contact information, feel free to ask, and I will get that to you. So scrolling down, introductory comments and course description. Obviously, course description, we're focusing on research and evidence-based practice. It's pretty self-explanatory. A big push in not just the OT field, but all healthcare fields really for evidence-based practice. So, really the overall goal of the course is just to get you familiar with evidence-based practice and research, and really make you also conscientious consumers of research, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Student learning outcomes, so leadership abilities, communication, technology, innovation. Required texts. Okay, hopefully everybody was able to find this through the bookstore. If you don't have the text yet, that's totally fine. Again, when I'm assigning readings, a lot of that is supplementary. That being said, it is a good book to have. I have a copy. It's highly tabbed with key areas that are helpful when you're writing your papers. So that's the only required text for the course. There are a couple other texts that I might utilize, but nothing else that you're responsible for. So scrolling down, late work policy, turn it in. This is a lot of the standard, kind of the same for every class. And let's see, methods for determining final grade. So this is really just a breakdown of the assignments, which we'll get a little more into shortly. Here we go. So your first assignment isn't due until February 2nd. And I should probably mention assignment due dates. So it's kind of tricky with an online class. A lot of people utilize the standard protocol of an assignment being assigned on a Sunday night or Monday morning, and it's due the following Sunday night. Excuse me. For the most part, you're actually going to have about a week and a half for each assignment. So your assignments are due on Thursdays for the most part, but you will have about a week and a half. So again, for example, today is the 23rd. Your first assignment isn't due until February 2nd. And your first assignment is going to be pretty straightforward. So using APA format, you're going to summarize a peer-reviewed journal article. Specifically something that focuses on a problem or challenge experienced by college students. And in a minute, I'll kind of walk you through how to search for articles using the Hatch library. So this is going to be a pretty basic assignment, 1 to 2 pages long. You're going to have your name, your citation, the introduction, just an overview of what the article is, Then you're going to analyze it a little further and write your conclusion. Really, the focus of this assignment is to kind of get a baseline of your writing skills and technique. So don't put too much weight on it. It really is to just kind of get established and come up with a starting point for your writing going further. Your second assignment, and I'm just going to go over these briefly. We'll get into more detail as they come up a little closer, but I also don't want anything to kind of, surprise you. So the second assignment, that won't be due until February 16th. This one's your debunking assignment. This is kind of my personal favorite. I came up with this one when the class was kind of handed over to me. And so what you're going to do with this one is you're going to find a source of, let's call it faulty information on social media. So there's no shortage of quasi-information on Facebook, on Twitter, on all kinds of social media. Through memes, through, articles, through posts, what have you. So you're going to find one of these, you're going to identify the source, and then you're going to come up with a credible source that will refute or quote-unquote debunk the claims made by the original source. And then you're going to use a digital format to present it. So you can make a meme, you can make a GIF, you can make a series of memes, you could make a short video. There's something called Adobe Spark, which I actually did this assignment myself to give you an example, and I'll post that when we get a little closer. But really, what I want you to get out of this assignment is the importance of doing solid research when you're trying to form and make a decision. So I'm actually really looking forward to this one. The assignment after that is the interview summary. So this is when you're actually going to contact a healthcare professional. It does not have to be an occupational therapist. It can be any healthcare professional. And you're just going to interview them. And you're going to talk about evidence-based practice from their perspective. You're going to talk about research. There's a list of questions down here that you can kind of base your conversation with them off of. And it's important to kind of have this one in the back of your head because, it could take a week or two to actually kind of nail down an occupation or any healthcare professional and contact them in order to get them on the phone and do an actual interview. So just kind of keep it in the back of your head, something to kind of plan ahead for a little bit. And a lot of these assignments are going to kind of tie into each other. So hopefully you'll not only conduct this interview, but hopefully it will actually lead you into the next assignment, which is your research question. And your research question is going to be due right before spring break, which is good because you'll get that out of the way, and then you'll kind of have spring break and a couple weeks to really kind of brainstorm and get going in the direction you want to get going. So we'll talk about the research question more when we get a little closer. I don't want to get too into that yet. Critical review forms and reference list. Again, I'm not going to get too into that yet. But essentially, this will be really finding the articles and sources that you want to use for your research paper and getting them into a specific format that we have for you. Introduction and problem statement. So that's where you take your research question and some of the evidence that you've found and really do a fairly brief summary on what it is that you're looking at and why you're looking at it. And then your next assignment is the research paper. That's your biggest assignment for the semester. You can see that's due towards the end of April. So the good thing about this too is that by the time you get to writing your research paper, these other assignments have already led to it. So you've already found all of your sources because that's an earlier assignment. You've already created the introduction and problem statement. That's going to be part of your research paper. So really, your research paper is going to be taking a lot of what you've already done and kind of polishing it up and putting it together into one cohesive paper. And then your final assignment, digital presentation of findings, that's going to be a way for you to share everything that you've found in your research paper with your peers, again, through a digital format. So again, Adobe Spark is mentioned here, or just simply making a short video. So that's kind of it for the assignments. Participation, discussions, professionalism, that's another 10% of your class. Obviously, attendance is different for an online course, so really your attendance in this class is going to be the weekly discussions. So I do plan on having one every week, with the exception of maybe a week or two here and there when you have other stuff to work on. But for the most part, plan on one discussion a week. They'll vary, and that's going to really count towards your professionalism and participation. And those are technically graded, but it's a pass-fail. So you either post to the discussion within the allotted time frame or you don't. So it's not like you're going to get a 90 out of 100 kind of thing. It's just you either do it or you don't. I don't have in there that you're required to respond to classmates that post, but I do encourage it. One of the trickiest things with an online class is really developing that connection, not just between the instructor and the students, but among the students themselves. So, it's always good to bounce ideas off of each other. So I do really encourage commenting and replying to other people's posts on the discussion. That's one of those things, with participation and professionalism, as far as I'm concerned, everybody kind of starts off on a 90 for a grade on that throughout the whole course. And it's really how much you put in that will bump up your grade, or if you kind of just do bare minimum, that'll maybe drop you down a little bit. So that's where, if I see somebody that's consistently responding to other people's posts on the discussion forums, that will probably bump your grade up a little bit. But, when I was a student, it just always felt a little forced when it was required of me, so I didn't want to make that a required portion of the grade, but I do strongly encourage it. So this is your basic course outline. So this includes, obviously what week it is, what we're going over, and what's due that week. I won't get too into depth on this. And I think that pretty much covers it for the syllabus. Some of these weeks, there might be an option. I won't make it mandatory by any means, but Sarah Harford is teaching this same course, but on campus. Obviously, slightly different format, but we've been working together quite a bit. So there may be a week or two here and there where we'll have the option of actually getting both classes together for a writing workshop for specific assignments. So that's one of those things that's kind of subject to change. Again, it's nothing that would ever be required because I understand this is an online class, and online classes often are taken because you need convenience. So I don't want to penalize anybody for that. Also just know, going back to the beginning of the syllabus, in relation to that. You know, if we're doing online or in-person workshops rather, and you can't make it, but you really want that one-on-one interaction, please feel free to contact me. I will work with you to set up an appointment, and not just for a specific assignment. If there's anything that you want to address in the class, please absolutely reach out to me, and we'll figure out a way to make it work. So going back to our site, I showed you the modules, so this is inside of week 1 overview. Hopefully all these links are working for you. Please let me know if they're not. You can go back to home here. Hopefully everybody likes my Neil deGrasse Tyson. I couldn't leave him out. Looking over to the side, there's a tab for APA Central here. Unfortunately, just ignore that. We were trying to have APA Central be linked directly into our course, but it didn't work out. So if you click on it, it just takes you here. And when you log in, it just doesn't work. So just unfortunately kind of disregard that for now. Getting back to modules, that's straightforward. Discussion, I do already have weeks 2 and 3. Those just are not available to you yet. Grades, Hatch Library, we'll get into that briefly. So you have a tab for Hatch Library. Hopefully, I don't know if you've used it or not, but if not, you'll get kind of a quick overview here. So if you click on that, open a new tab. So this is kind of the home page. And as far as, let's say, for your first assignment, finding a research article, just go to Research Guides. And that kind of gives you a list of different areas of focus. And we'll go right to occupational therapy. But you could also, depending on what you're looking at, you might want to check out psychology, physician assistant. So don't feel like you're locked into occupational therapy. But for now, we'll click on that. It's going to ask me, well, it didn't ask me to log in, but it will ask you to log in at some point. So now you have a few different options. We'll just go right to CINAHL. And so this is what pops up. So this is just asking you for your topic. So for your first assignment, it's a peer-reviewed journal article related to college students and health. So let's just say college students. And we already see a bunch of things popping up, right? Procrastination, I'm the king of that. But let's look at college students and stress. Okay. We're going to leave this the same. So Boolean phrase is just what we're using here. Scroll down. So in general, you want to find an article that's been published within the last 10 years. So I'm going to say 2007 to 2017. You want it to be peer-reviewed. Let's click on English language. And I think that will be good enough for now. There's obviously a lot here that you can really narrow down if you're looking at something very specific, but for now let's just do a general search. So you can see that popped up with 1 to 30 of 1,066, so a lot of articles. So that being the case, let's narrow the dates down even more. So let's make it 5 years. So since 2012. And let's also say full text. So if you look over here, let's find one. So see right here, it just says find full text at Hatch Library or request, whereas up here it has PDF full text. So because we have so many results, I'm going to go ahead and click on full text just to make things a little easier. So now it's applied those settings, and now still 1 to 30 of 588. So you might be able to narrow it down even further from here. Let's click on academic journals. That narrows it down a little further. And now you can really start just browsing around. So role of virtues and perceived life stress and affecting psychological symptoms among Chinese college students. So that's getting pretty specific population-wise, but it's giving you something to go on. Stress coping and internet use of college students. So already a lot of options. So that's kind of a basic overall view of how to conduct a quick search on Hatch. We will be getting the librarian in. She's going to be visiting Sarah's class on campus and doing an overview of how to use Hatch for research. And we're actually going to have that session recorded on video, and then you'll get a link to that. So she is going to have a tremendous amount of tips for you to use, but this is your basic search. So obviously PDF full text, click on that, and then you can download it from there. Pretty straightforward. And we'll get into how to cite your sources a little more next week. That'll be in Module 2. There's a few brief tutorials, but absolutely feel free to kind of get ahead of the game and do some searching. And you know, maybe you'll find an article that'll really jump out at you that you want to start just kind of brainstorming how you're going to summarize it for that first assignment. So I think that's all I have for you for now. Again, for this first week, go through this presentation. The link is right here in your Module 1 under Readings and Media. The Therapist Awake article, read through that. And actually, your second discussion, so your discussion for next week, is going to be talking about this article a little bit. So do yourself a favor and read that ahead of time. And then, like I said, make sure you post in the discussion forum. For those of you that already have, thank you. Like I said, I will be posting responses to some of the comments on there, but already really liking what I'm seeing so far. And then just explore APA Style Central. Like I said, sign up, make an account. It's completely free, pretty straightforward. All right. So hopefully I'll get my webcam working soon and can do a little better video introduction of myself for you. But for now, I think that is all I have for you. So enjoy the rest of the week. If there's any questions, feel free to email or text or call, and I'll get back to you. All right. Thank you.